So this huge fundraising campaign, it's given us so many opportunities. Alongside it has come our new sculpture outside the front.
Yes.
So I was attending that ceremony where it was
In the
blessed
rain.
and yes, but I love the rain.
Okay, good.
It was a fantastic day for me, and I actually went out there and saw it and read the quotes, and it's lovely. So
good.
If you could tell us a little more about that for the people who weren't at the ceremony and your I Know a Guy speech, if you could sum that up and let us know.
Okay, I will. That's a long story, but I will tell you just a little bit. It is a very special piece, and
Yes.
so you heard my remarks. So the sculpture is called Fire and Water, and it is personal to me because I am the artist. So trying to think, it was probably April, maybe March of last year, so it was still the lingering of the pandemic, and it started with a couple convergences. So we think about our 70th anniversary, which was 2021. Our first class was in 1951, and so September of 2021 was our 70th anniversary, so we're in that right now. And at the same time, Father Kevin Scalf, who had been with me and across the hall, and our director of mission and ministry and program director for the theology program, was being reassigned to Cincinnati and going back to his hometown. And I remember thinking that the role of the CPPS and the religious here on campus, so Father Kevin, we have Brother Ben, we have Brother Jim, but as with all institutions, my former institution, there were no more religious around campus, and we're lucky to still have 3. And so I was just thinking about how I wanted to recognize the 70th anniversary, and it was a Saturday morning, I remember, and it was cold out, so that's why I'm thinking it was early March, and I just sketched out on a piece of paper an idea for 7, they turn out to be either flames or blades or ribbons, whatever, it's up to interpretation. And those 7, I like to call them flames or blades, because when I look at it, it was really representative of our industry. So I knew that I wanted a sculpture made out of steel, so it's made out of stainless steel and looks beautiful and catches your eye. Then I wanted to represent kind of the industry and resources around us, so it's called Fire and Water. And from right here, we're next to the refinery, so there's a lot of fire that you see off on the distance from the blast furnace and the flames. So I thought I would call it Fire and Water, and as I looked at it, I thought it also reminded me of plant life that you find in the water, whether it's the Calumet River, Wolf Lake, Lake George, or Lake Michigan right next to us. So then I got to attach to it's a very simple sculpture, but I wanted it also to speak to our pillars. So while we have 5 pillars, there are 7 flames, blades, that each one of them has a quote on it. And I started working with campus ministry, identifying, I think we started with probably 70 quotes, to be honest. And then trying to narrow them down, because I did want them to in some way represent our 5 pillars. And again, it's up to how the quotes speak to you, but being able to be representative of the 5 pillars of open to growth, intellectually competent, religious, loving, and commitment to justice. So, a quote that maybe not is, directly obvious, but I think of it as open to growth is one of my favorites. Aspire not to have more, but to be more. So where that fits into one of those pillars, I think it can fit into a number of them.
Yes.
But hopefully someone reads it and reflects on it, either a prospective student, but also a visitor or someone that might just be walking around the campus or walking to the the trails and walks by, and it gives you something to reflect on. And then another one that I spoke about, which maybe speaks directly to a few of the pillars in particular, is be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. So that's a special quote. That's St. Catherine of Siena, and certainly speaks to religious and be who God meant for you to be, but also the actual sculpture of fire and water. You will set the world on fire. So, and then the story after I gave my remarks, I was telling my husband about it. He's like, "Oh, you have to write those down." So the dedication was on a Thursday. On Friday, I tried to write my remarks because I think it would be. It's a great story about a sculpture that started with, really, I say started with the ladies, because the first bit of funding, it was fully funded, came from the First Catholic Slovak Ladies Association, and they had funded a proposal that we had submitted about creating a giving garden. And so the giving means a number of things. It's kind of the entrance to campus where the chapel and the food pantry. And so the whole giving garden concept was around mind, body, and soul, and providing nourishment for all. And so this sculpture, we started last year by creating a seating space and some landscaping for you to sit, and then I always knew I wanted to add a piece of art there. So I feel like it's almost complete, but we also have some additional funding that will finish off the giving garden, thanks to Frank and Shirley Schilling. So we have more to come next spring. But what started with the First Catholic Slovak Ladies Association and the local chapter, and then my drawing, which I'm not an artist, so I'm an accountant, but I'm also creative in some ways.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, yeah, some better than others. And so this artistic rendition I did of the sculpture, in my remarks I said started as a project by the ladies, but throughout the project, the 6 months, the number of conversations I had with people that I talked to, and they'd say, "Well, I can't help you, but I got a guy." Or I'd mention, "We need this," and they're like, "Oh, I know a guy that can do that." Or, "It's too small of a job for me, but let me connect you with a guy I know." So it started with the ladies, but then I felt like it became this story theme throughout it that was, I got a guy. And, well, I think you know from the comments, I wrapped it up with, I think we all have a guy with a capital G. And how a project like this starts from a seed and comes together, I think is magical in its own way, and wouldn't happen if we weren't all connected in some way. So I also felt like it was a spiritual journey for me, and started with representing the college, our 70 years, and certainly the mission of our sponsoring order, the Missionaries of the Precious Blood, that when it's finally done and it's dedicated, you realize that these things are spiritual journeys too, that all come together with some intentionality.
Yes, everything all came full circle, pulling pieces from our community and all the hard work you did and all your guys.
Yeah, yeah.
That you now know.
And I just can't thank Bob Miglarini had been a long-time trustee, and he's an emeritus trustee, works in the metal business. And then Vitamos, Scott Vitamos is a local business, family-owned business right here in East Chicago, that he was certainly instrumental in doing all the plasma cutting of the quotes, and then also the installation. And the artist was someone that I had met by accident, but we certainly had a family connection. That who would have ever known that? Not a family, but our extended families had a connection, which caused us to have a connection, but didn't know that until after we'd talked for a while. And the other thing I found kind of heartwarming, but I hope it's how I represent myself as a president, as someone very accessible. I don't think he knew I was the president of the university until he came here for the dedication.
Really?
So, which I thought is great, because I don't always lead with, "Oh, I'm the president of Calumet College," and he probably thought, I was just somebody working on a sculpture, but I guess I maybe didn't tell him that, or I introduced myself and said it was for Calumet College. So that was also kind of special how that worked out.
Yeah, I think small connections like that speak to God's plan. Because what are the odds? I heard that story. What are the odds?
I know.
And so for you to connect with someone that's so distant, it was an accident, but also there was such an intimate connection, from your families. It was awesome.
And not to know that at all. So again,
Yes.
I do think that I often say, God works in mysterious ways. And,
Yes.
So I was just really grateful that all worked out. And the dedication, obviously, the Feast of St. Gaspar was the 21st of October, so we had it on October 28th, so I wanted to have it in the month of the Feast of St. Gaspar, which is our patron saint.
Yes.
So
all full circle.
Yeah.
Everything's
so
connected.
it was great. And I do hope to continue to do some beautification of the campus, and hopefully in the time that you've been here, you have seen that. I call them Pride in Place projects. I do want students to be able to connect with places on campus, whether it's the library. So we're sitting here, we've created a lot of special places in the library that hopefully students find, whether it's a study room, a Zoom room, the place upstairs where you're overlooking the entrance and it's more quiet space, or the tables in the basement where groups can meet, or just a couch to sit and relax on. The tutoring center, I think, is a beautiful space, and so hopefully it's a welcome and inviting space for students, because we can all use a little tutoring help from time to time. I remember my times in college, and that was having a nice, peaceful, pleasant area when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting this, I've got a test tomorrow, I don't understand the material. That's a stressful situation, so I really wanted the tutoring center to feel calming and a beautiful place for you to go and comfortable.